Today we're making sourdough bread. I'm gonna make two variations of it. Both are the same no knead recipe. One is going to get extra nuts and seeds, and the other one is going to get a bread spice. More on that later. You need, of course, an active sourdough starter. That's the most important thing of all. Don't be intimidated by the grams and kilograms. Your scale will just do that. Just set it to grams and follow the recipe. I'm using 200 grams of whole wheat flour. Then you do the same amount of bread flour, so that in total you end up with 400 grams. 12 grams of salt. It's very common in Germany that breads get spices mixed in. I'll have the spice mix down below. Let's sprinkle that in. So this is the exact same recipe. 200 grams of whole wheat flour, 200 grams of bread flour, put in 12 grams of salt. And this time around, I'm adding all the seeds. So this is a mixture of pumpkin seeds, linseeds, and sunflower seeds. Again, just give this a stir. Let's deal with the sourdough starter. So what you need is 280 milliliters of water. And now I'm just gonna add about 60 grams of sourdough starter. On a cold day, I would use more sourdough starter, like 80 grams. Today it's going to be a very hot day here, so we are expecting mid-90s. So I would say 50 to 60 grams is plenty. Otherwise, your fermentation will be way too quick. Now, each one gets one of these mixes. Make a sludge out of it. And then you just pour this in. All you want to do is mix this until everything is incorporated. I'm just finishing this whole mixing process by hand, simply because it's quicker. Okay, there we go. See, no more dry stuff. That's it for number one. Second one, same procedure. Make a nice slurry from your sourdough starter and the water. Pour it in, mix it together. And now all you do is put a lid on and wait about half an hour. This isn't really all that sticky anymore. Still, here comes the trick. Wet your hands just a little bit with a little bit of cold water, and then this won't stick at all. So now I'm just going under it like this to lift it off from the bowl. Pull a little, fold it over. Pull a little, fold it over. You will reach the point like I have right now where it doesn't really pull anymore. Form a ball. Put the lid back on. I do the same thing with the other one. You will see this is getting a lot firmer. First 1-2 times you fold it in. Later on you fold it over. So you essentially fold it in half and that's it. I start to roll it up at the end. Crosswise, once like this. Once like that. And I'm pulling a little bit while doing that. That stretch again builds more gluten. Let's take a look at the other one. Crosswise. Lift back up. And guess what? I'll see you again in an hour. Now I'm just doing these like little folds and rolls. And there you go. I do this whole thing probably 2 times more, that I get a total of 4 to 5 turns on it. I did one more fold and then I just let them sit for right now about 3.5 hours. Let's see where we are. So if you push in, you want to see that bounce back. So you push in, you barely leave a dimple in it. At that point, you can get these things into the little bannetons. A banneton is one of these little baskets. You can just use any bowl. It doesn't have to be one of these fancy wicker baskets. Shape it. I get this thing out of the bowl and onto the work surface. And I get a banneton ready. I use a cloth dust that with a little bit of flour. I'm using rice flour. I found that rice flour is not as sticky. Put that to the side. And what I'm doing now is I stretch this out and I fold it over, just like you would stitch something up. Fold it in on the end. I'm rolling it up. This is going to be a elongated shape, so it's like an oval basket. You just want to roll it like this so that you get a surface tension. So you essentially push under. Push under, and you may notice I'm not using any flour on my surface here. If the dough is fermented right, it will be kind of sticky, but not sticky enough to really adhere to the surface. If you have this, you just invert it and drop it into that basket. Just give it a little more of the flour on top. I fold this over and I let this sit on the counter for another half hour to an hour or so, and then I bag it in a large plastic bag, classic shopping plastic bag, and put it in the fridge overnight. This is the other loaf. We're going to use a round shape for this. We do the same thing, we stretch it out a little. And since we're going to make a round shape, we of course want to pre-shape this into something round. I'm just going to fold it in like this. And once I've done that, I'm going to turn this around, and you already have kind of a round shape. And then I'm just pulling and kind of like in an arc. Again, hold under it and just pull it over the surface. And the stickiness of the dough on the surface will actually tension this. That's all we need to do. Again, we invert this into the bowl. Some flour so it doesn't stick. And I'm going to let this sit on the counter like the other one. Put them in. Don't close them completely. This needs to breathe, but you don't want it to dry out. Put it into the fridge like this overnight. Sorry about the hair. This is what it looks at 6:30 in the morning. Here's our bread. We put into the fridge last night. The oven is preheated to 500 degrees. I'm not using a Dutch oven. I have a pizza stone in the oven, so I'm using that. But you need steam in the oven, at least for the first 20 minutes or so. I'm using a dome. I made this from a big steel mixing bowl and I just put a metal handle on it. The alternative is put some kind of pan or something in the bottom of your oven and add some boiling water to that so you produce steam inside the oven, and then after 20 minutes you pull the pan out. I put a little bit of flour on here to prevent the bread from sticking when I shove it into the oven. And then we work quickly. We invert this, make a nice half round cut at an angle. And then for decoration, I'm doing a few tiny, not as deep cuts. I'm spraying this dome with a spritz bottle. Shove this into the oven. "20 minutes are over, let's take that dome out." See how pretty that bread is? Nice. Let's finish the baking at 430. What you do now is you spritz it with water. Spraying it with water will give you a much better crust. Now you just have to let this cool. In the meantime, I'm gonna pop the other one into the oven. Same procedure, so I'm not gonna film that. Hear the sound? That's always the test that it's fully cooked. It has to sound hollow. And if you'd like to know how to bake real pretzels, here's a video you should watch.